Welcome to Redacted on this Monday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natali Morris.
And this is the show where we seek the truth. That's our entire mission here on this show, to cover the stories you might not see in the mainstream media, or at least avoid the propaganda as much as we can. And boy, there's so much propaganda, you can really cut it with a butter knife. We've got a big show, but first I want to say a big thanks to my brother-in-law for helping build out the whole new studio here. So this is the Redacted studio. We're still dialing in the lights and all of that goodness, but slowly coming together. Isn't it look amazing?
I think it looks absolutely amazing. This was the whole weekend spent by Clayton and my brother-in-law.
Yes.
And yeah, it's great to be here.
So yes, and no, that's not fake wood. That's every piece of wood is stained and nailed and built.
Yeah.
So we're dialing in the lights here. It's still not perfect, but yes.
If you guys haven't seen it, Clayton actually did some shorts on the channel, or some stories. Was those stories, or did you do shorts?
Stories, yeah.
So go look for those on the channel, and you can see the process.
Yes. So anyway, we're still dialing everything in. So any suggestions for the studio, any little knickknacks or things that you'd like here, we'd love to have them here. But thank you so much for subscribing and being a part of our great community. We are live every day, Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We've got a busy show for you on this Monday because the United States is ramping up its nuclear threats. They spent all Sunday. It was like the mouthpieces of the White House were all out. And by the way, the mainstream media was enjoying having them on all of their broadcasts.
Yes.
Like, hey, we need to go on NBC. No problem. Come on right over. You wanna talk about how you're gonna bomb and use nuclear weapons? Come right on over to CBS. Come on over to ABC.
Of all the things that Vladimir Putin said last week, the West heard nuclear, and they said, we can say nuclear too.
Yeah, we're gonna say that.
We're gonna do that.
So we got that coming up on the show.
Yes, we also are going to talk about the far-right party that has won elections in Italy. Are they far-right? What do we mean by that? We're going to break it down.
And rejecting the EU. I mean, this is a major shift in European politics. I mean, is this the collapse of the European Union as a result of this? We're also going to look at the World Economic Forum and your bank accounts, their strategy. I mean, they literally rolled out a brand new video and strategy for what they plan to do to your bank accounts. It's like it's like a trailer, it's like a new Marvel trailer that they've rolled out. So we're going to break that down for you and show you what you need to do to protect your family and your family's finances.
Plus, an FDA advisor is saying that the Omicron booster may not be for everyone, and they're doing, hold on for it, you guys, they are actually considering which population is appropriate for which measure. This is something that has not been done during the pandemic, is to actually consider individualized health. That's interesting, isn't it?
That's great. Oh, you mean so it might not be appropriate if you're young to get certain things?
They're saying that we should consider the age group in the population, something that has never been done during the pandemic. No, I mean, did they only lock down certain populations? No. Did they only, give the medication to certain populations? No. So yeah, all of a sudden, this seems like a good idea. That's novel, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that means that Redacted starts right now on this Monday. Boom. Welcome. I'm hearing myself twice.
We have an echo, guys.
Yeah,
a
hold
bad
on
one.
1 second. Let me just turn this off. There we go. Now it's good. It's
okay.
On. Okay. Yes. Welcome to Redacted on this Monday. Good to see you guys. What is the name of our music? I don't know. We'll post it in the community. If you guys are a subscriber, Melodic Mind. Thank you, Philip. David, producer, and Philip, producers, are in the house rocking and rolling. Good to see all of you guys. You need to at least have one positive story a week. Getting depressed, someone just said in
That's
our
what
chat.
Poseidon in the chat, the god of the sea, has told us. So
well, why don't we just do that's why we have super chats at the end of the show. We could do a fluffy bunny story.
It shall be so.
Yeah.
I do try to put palate cleansers in the newsletter. So if you are reading the newsletter, you do get your palate cleanser. And we will try to reach out for some maybe more positive or empowering angles.
Well, I think
we go for that a lot.
But see, when you look at these stories, tonight, I want you to think about like how, actually, I think the Italy story is incredibly positive, to be honest with you. So let's look at this Italy story in just a few moments. I think it's an incredibly positive sign. So I think that's one huge beacon of hope in a sea of garbage right now. But we do have a daily newsletter that Natali was talking about. You can subscribe to it by just going to redacted.inc. This is what the website looks like. You click on it and you put in your email address, and it goes by real fast. Then you go, you see what the newsletter looks like right here. Again, it's totally free. Redacted.inc, not .com, and it's delivered to your inbox first thing in the morning. We try to publish it at about 6 a.m. Eastern time, 5:30 a.m. Eastern time, roughly. Somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah. We work on that in the morning, but we are on Western European time zone. So our children are in bed. We are here with you. Let's do it.
Yes. All right. Let's get into the big story of the day, which, of course, is all of this talk around nuclear attacks. We are, folks, I really believe, like, this is the most scared that I've been around the threat of a nuclear attack. And I'm telling you, we are inside the New World Order with the Great Reset unfolding right before our eyes. We are the closest we've ever come to nuclear war, even greater than the Cuban Missile Crisis by a landslide. This is even greater than the Cuban Missile Crisis. Last night, the Biden administration did all of their rounds and really made a terrifying announcement last night. And you got to watch this, like how the Biden administration unfolded this. On Saturday, they probably put out feelers to all of the major networks. Hey, CBS, 60 Minutes, we've got a story for you. We're going to send down Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and he's going to talk about how we're going to attack Russia with nuclear weapons. Okay, make that happen, Scott Pelley over at CBS and 60 Minutes. Oh, by the way, we want to go on ABC News with George Stephanopoulos in the morning. We want to be on CBS Face the Nation in the morning. We want to go on CNN's State of the Union. Any Sunday show we can possibly go on to, we want to go on there.
I mean, I don't even think it happened as recently as Saturday. I feel like the moment President Putin released his speech to mobilize and add 300,000 troops and issued the thinly veiled threat about if you use nuclear, we're ready for this, they were chomping at the bit to ratchet up their rhetoric to make it seem that oh no, we have the more scary technology. It's us you don't want to mess with, right? Because Putin's first speech said, I'm not bluffing. I don't want to do this, but I could, right? And so, of course, what's the response to that is, I have that. I
have that. And by the way, it's not just I have that. It's all of us in NATO, all of our allies. We are prepared to use nuclear weapons. And I think you better prepare your families. I mean, I hate to say this, but I think you better prepare your families because the globalists are pushing for a tactical nuclear war, which is what they're pushing for. So not a full-blown nuclear war, a tactical nuclear war. We heard this yesterday in all the rhetoric. I mean, and this is incredibly naive, I think, on the part of these guys to say a tactical nuclear war. Like you're going to just have like a little pinprick tactical strike and that's how it's going to end. No, it's going to elevate beyond a tactical to a massive, full-scale nuclear war. Clearly, right? I mean, it's an entire genre of literature around nuclear fallout. It doesn't stay contained in one thing. It's the entire a butterfly flaps its wings theory, right? This is a nuclear bomb. Well, they pushed, and by the way, I mean, they pushed Putin into this trap, too. And you wonder, like, did he fall for this, right? They have this NATO-backed coup in 2014. They install a puppet government in Ukraine. They continue to attack the Donbass for 8 straight years, violation of the Minsk agreements. They installed this puppet regime. And the people in the eastern part of Ukraine said, no, we don't see eye to eye with your Maidan coup. We don't see eye to eye with your breaking of the Minsk agreements. We don't agree with this. And Putin, I think in many ways, fell for this trap that NATO had set. NATO wants this. You could say that, right? But they are still trying to go about it in a democratic way by hosting Russia and the separatist regions. Okay. Because what we've said many times on this show is that history has shown us that this Donbass region did not want to join Ukraine in 2014, fought against it heartily, I may add, and has continued to be persecuted by the Ukrainian government and Ukrainian
forces or groups inside of the Ukrainian government, and they are hurting. And there are many people there who want to become a part of Russia. So they took it to the ballot box this weekend, right? And they are saying, we're going to give them a choice. Now you, Western world, have a choice to either honor this democratic process or not, right? And then what?
Well, we have till tomorrow, right? So tomorrow we have less than 24 hours, and I think everything changes tomorrow. So the voting was to take place from the 23rd to the 27th, right? So now tomorrow's the 27th. When people wake up in this region, we're going to be counting ballots. A large percentage of them are already in, of course. We're going to know how this shapes out. We know that Donetsk and Luhansk absolutely had an overwhelming number of people turn out. So if it's over 50%, over 60%.
It's over 50%.
In the other regions.
And the other regions already did hit 50% as well.
So that validates the vote.
Yes.
Yeah, that validates the vote.
I mean, but the question is for who, right? So the West can him and Han say, we don't authorize, we don't validate this as a legitimate election, but it almost doesn't matter, right? Because if the border is moved across these regions, then Russia has said, then firing upon those regions, we will consider breaking our state lines.
So let's listen to some sound here in a second. First, Russia has called up the 300,000 troops. They've placed high-tech heavy weapons and heavy bombers on the border with Ukraine. This is no bluff. So after tomorrow, guys, we will see if there's any kind of movement, and if they then validate these votes, and that happens pretty quickly. We spoke to Eva Bartlett last week on this. After that happens and that referendum is approved, that can move very, very quickly, very, very quickly, right?
Yes.
So it can happen very fast, and then once it happens, it's going to be they're a part of Mother Russia. Then if there's an attack, all hell's going to break loose. Russia, for their part, have only mobilized their country twice before. I think this is really interesting. Right before World War I, then again when Germany's Nazi government invaded the Soviet Union, and now this would be the third time that they've mobilized their government for war.
That's scary when you say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, this is not like a, hey, this happens every week in Russia kind of a thing, right? This is the third time. Now, think about how many times the United States has done this. Right? How many times have we mobilized for war on a regular? We do it on a regular basis,
but in other people's land.
Yeah, but this is the third time that Russia would have done this, and they're not kidding around. And again, Putin said he's not scared of using nuclear weapons. This is President of Russia, Putin, on these nuclear weapons. Take a listen.
They should rob our country of everything. They have started nuclear blackmail. I'm not only talking about the attacks against Zaporozhye nuclear power station that is promoted by the Western couriers, but I'm talking about the statements about high-level representatives of the NATO countries about the possibility of using weapons of mass destruction against Russia, nuclear weapons. And those who make such statements against Russia, I would like to remind them that our country also possesses various type of strike weapons, and in some components we have more modern weapons than NATO countries. And if the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, to defend and protect our country and our people, we will use all the means that we have. And I'm not bluffing.
Yeah, I'm not bluffing. Russia, for their part, I mean, right now, the Pentagon analysts that I've been looking at say that there's a 50-50 chance of a nuclear war. 50-50. So, I mean, guys, this is like a time when you need to really, protect
crazy,
your family. I mean, and really think about how do you prepare?
Yeah.
What can you do to prepare yourself?
Well, I was really encouraged because I spent a good part of the morning going through the comments on the piece we did last week about hoarding and how the news media is making fun of people who are
prepping,
stockpiling, and calling them hoarders, right? And most of the comments that I read were, who cares what the news media calls me? I'm just trying to be prepared for an uncertain future, right? And I loved all of these comments, and they were overwhelming, like, screw what the media says. I'm just going to be prepared, right? And so a lot of times, I'm sure we all feel this way collectively, is we're thinking about, like, I go to the store and I'm like, I'm going to buy an extra sack of rice and beans, that kind of thing. Just have them in my dry goods section. And then I think to myself, am I being crazy? Or should I just do this? And you drive around and you think, I'm listening for things. I'm looking for things. Like, this is a rational way to behave at this point. I wonder if those of you in the chat feel this way too, trying to go about your day, but having this now in the back of your head. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, let us know. Like, what are you guys doing to prepare? Because again, I mean, if you watch 60 Minutes last night. So 60 Minutes last night, Antony Blinken told 60 Minutes that the U.S. will bring catastrophic consequences if President Putin instructs his military to use nuclear weapons. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Putin has already lost in terms of what he was trying to achieve. He's lost the war. Like, I don't know if he's smoking crack. I don't know what he's hanging out with Hunter Biden. What is he talking about? Given his objective was to erase Ukraine's identity as an independent country. No, I don't think that was ever I don't think that was the mission at all. But yet we will use catastrophic means necessary to attack Russia, and NATO countries are positioning themselves in order to do this. It's absolutely crazy. And National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan made the comments all over the Sunday shows, basically using the same phrase, catastrophic consequences, on every show that he went on. Sullivan said during the 3 different interviews he did on ABC, CBS, NBC, that U.S. officials have called Moscow and warned them specifically about catastrophic consequences of using nuclear weapons. We will use nuclear weapons. Listen to Jake on this catastrophic consequence piece.
We're taking it seriously. It's not the first time President Putin has made a nuclear threat in this conflict. He started way back in February when Russian tanks first rolled across the border, brandishing that nuclear card. And that has not deterred us from providing more than $15 billion in weapons to Ukraine, helping them be able to defend their country. And it will not deter us now. And we have communicated directly, privately, to the Russians at very high levels that there will be catastrophic consequences for Russia if they use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. We have been clear with them and emphatic with them that the United States will respond decisively alongside our allies and partners. And we have protected those communications, which we have done privately to the Russians, but they well understand what they would face if they went down that dark road.
So you know who they haven't been clear, though, with? He says we've been clear with Putin, right? But going on Sunday shows is not a declarative statement to the American public. And so as we continue to tiptoe into a full-scale conflict, you know, we had Russian President Vladimir Putin sitting down and looking eye to eye to camera and saying, this is what we're dealing with, right? And so at least they get it straight from him. We do not get that in the West. It's a bunch of rhetoric around how Putin's doing this bad stuff. We are going to collectively stand up for him. This is why, right? We don't get a full-on, like, explanation of what it's going to cost all of us. And it is going to cost all of us, not just now, you know, of course, high gas prices and energy prices and price of goods is hurting everybody. But when we're talking about possible nuclear fallout, I feel like we deserve a more declarative statement than just appearances on a Sunday talk show circuit.
Maybe they could hire TikTok influencers like they did with COVID. Right, and they've released all those 100 TikTok videos with all those COVID influencers.
Again, not helpful.
Like that's how the Biden administration communicates. Go ahead, David.
No, unfortunately, like the people of the United States, we're not going to get any other narrative. We're not. They block all the Russian sources. They block everything so that we can't see another narrative. And unfortunately, you have some of these news channels that are on another side of different issues, but when it comes to war, they all beat the same drum. So everybody that watches mainstream media, they think that, you know, the worst is happening. Like Russia's been threatening nuclear war and all this other stuff, when that is not the case. If you listen to the other side and how, you know, it's more, we're the ones pushing it. We're the ones that are making it going to happen. Yeah.
Did you wear that Zelensky shirt on purpose?
He's getting his Halloween outfit ready.
Yes.
Oh.
That's what I'm going as.
Okay.
But it's true. And it's interesting when you think about the, like you if you're in Europe, you can't get access. You talked about the United States blocking content. Like if you want to find out like what Russian newspapers are saying, you've got to use a virtual private network. And you have to route yourself through the freaking Bahamas to get access to information. Like the United States blocking these websites and these news sources. So is Europe. Europe's blocking them like crazy. So imagine Europeans like sitting there. No wonder we're going to get to the Italy story in a few moments here. No wonder they're fed up.
I was watching CNN Portugal this weekend. I just had it on as I was cleaning the kitchen. And the headline was milhares, like that means thousands vote in the Donbass. And I'm like, thousands? It's like hundreds of thousands.
There's 2 million people.
Right. And so the lower third was milhares está a votar. They're voting in the Donbass.
Like
and I
a
was
few hundred people.
It's not like that. What is this narrative? Even CNN Portugal is like a carbon copy of CNN.
Oh, I was watching CNN. I was watching CNN Turkey. Same thing. It's like a carbon copy of U.S. propaganda.
Yeah.
Like CNN Turkey, CNN Portugal, CNN America. It's like a carbon copy, just with Turkish speakers
There
and
was
Portuguese.
this event
Bom
hosted
dia,
by
Portugal.
There was an event hosted by the American Club of Portugal, and they had CNN news anchors from CNN Portugal speaking there. And I was like, no, this should not be, so that we see exactly how they're stamping out their narrative all around the world. Anyway, I've gone on a tangent. I apologize.
So Moscow responded today. So I'm sorry, I was going to play another soundbite here. Jake Sullivan. So Jake Sullivan on these catastrophic consequences specifically talks about, like, we are going to fire back. We are going to hit back with these catastrophic consequences. Make no mistake about it. And then it was interesting because thank you, George Stephanopoulos, for asking the question, because I was thinking, wait a minute, you're just basically admitting now that the United States is actively involved in this war, not even pulling any punches anymore. I mean, we've already seen HIMARS attacks on the nuclear power plant just this weekend, for crying out loud. American-made HIMARS attacking a nuclear power plant. Like, we need to wake up, people. Like, this is absolutely happening. So George Stephanopoulos basically said the question, you're admitting that the U.S. is going to war with Russia. Listen.
That means taking the fight directly to Russia.
We have communicated to the Russians what the consequences would be, but we've been careful in how we talk about this publicly, because from our perspective, we want to lay down the principle that there would be catastrophic consequences, but not engage in a game of rhetorical tit for tat. So the Russians understand where we are. We understand where we are. We are planning for every contingency, and we will do what is necessary to deter Russia from taking this step. And if they do, we will respond decisively.
Okay. So make no mistake about it. The United States is at war with Russia. If there was any illusion before, now you know flat out. You just heard there Jake Sullivan admitting it. Moscow responded today. The Deputy Foreign Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sergei Ryabkov, said the U.S. And the Americans are undermining Europe's competitiveness, pumping their products into European markets, be they military equipment or hydrocarbons, which the Europeans would rather get from alternative sources under different circumstances. And he said the behavior of the Americans is extremely worrying. He said that the U.S. is trying to destroy Europe, which, by the way, is absolutely the case. We saw the Rand Corporation documents, right?
Yes.
That's exactly what they want to do. The United States wants to cripple the European Union, obviously for the promotion of the U.S. dollar and the American hegemony. He goes on to say, we can see how the Americans are trying to mobilize their satellites, meaning their friends, their vassals, to confront Russia in a more aggressive, hardline manner. Washington's irresponsible, extremely aggressive, extremely assertive course is bringing us all to the dangerous line. We are warning against maintaining this course. And then this afternoon, we learned that the U.S. is now deploying HIMARS to Latvia. The U.S. Army in Europe and Africa Command announced on Sunday that it would be sending 2 HIMARS, high mobility artillery rocket systems, along with approximately a dozen personnel to Latvia to take part in the NATO-led national readiness military exercises. So deploying as many more advanced high weapon systems as they can. I thought it was interesting this weekend, by the way. President Trump came out, and he's gotten a lot of flack for this, which I actually kind of enjoyed, because he really has dug it into the deep state. Like, the deep state can't stand Donald Trump. And he said there's no way that the U.S. and NATO wins a war against Russia.
To which they collectively lost their minds.
They slammed him. Like, how can you say that? How can you say that the U.S. would lose to
He
Russia?
does know a little bit about what is involved in the U.S. military, having once been commander-in-chief. But of course, they will accuse him of being a Russian apologist or a secret Russian agent or pro-Russia or any of those
Well, they hate him.
things.
They hate him because he was starting to dismantle the deep state. He obviously wanted to pull back on a lot of different military incursions around the world. And to be fair, he talked about like draining the swamp. He really did not drain the swamp. So let's be fair here. He talked a lot about it, and he was certainly pulling back on our military procurement. He was certainly pulling back on different incursions. The deep state wanted him to spend more money, and he didn't want to spend more money. And they love Biden. The deep state loves Biden because he's basically, he's demented, and he'll do whatever the deep state wants. Oh, you want to spend another $20 billion to Ukraine? Fine, go ahead, do whatever you want. He's a puppet. Obama, Clinton, they all are ready to do the bidding of the deep state, starting World War III. Do you remember Hillary Clinton in this exchange? This reminded me of this exchange, her against Donald Trump on stage talking about nuclear weapons. Take a listen to this exchange. It's very, very telling. Watch.
I find it ironic that he's raising nuclear weapons. This is a person who has been very cavalier, even casual, about the use of nuclear weapons. He's advocated more countries getting them, Japan, Korea, even Saudi Arabia. He's said, well, if we have them, why don't we use them, which I think is terrifying. But here's the deal. The bottom line on nuclear weapons is that when the president gives the order, it must be followed. There's about 4 minutes between the order being given and the people responsible for launching nuclear weapons to do so.
Okay.
Oh, she knows something about that, huh? Like, clearly has spent a little bit too much time, knee deep in how quickly I can respond with nuclear weapons. I've got 4 minutes. Okay, 4 minutes. That's enough time for me to go to the bathroom, powder my nose,
Get out of bed.
Do whatever I need to do. So I think Jordan Peterson over the weekend said it best during an interview with Piers Morgan. He's taking a lot of heat for this interview, as you can imagine, which of course means he's right. He says it's naive to think that Putin will lose this war and that the West and Putin will start this massive war by first. He says that this is how Putin's going to do it, is going to turn off the oil and gas spigots first. And that's coming. Watch.
I'd wait till the first cold snap and shut off the taps.
Right.
Well,
because
of course he's going to do that.
He's got the control over the energy.
Of course he's going to do that. He's already warned the West with his insistence that maintenance problems were necessary and the pipelines had to be shut down.
Do you think he will use a nuclear weapon?
If necessary, he'll use a tactical battlefield weapon. But I do know that naive notions that the Russians are going to lose somehow, or that we're going to win, I just don't understand. I don't understand that. Well, what do you mean we're going to win? What are we going to win here exactly? We can't win against Vladimir Putin anyways, because you cannot win against someone you cannot say no to. Period. And we can't say no to Putin because we sold our soul for his oil and gas. And we did that to elevate our moral stature in relationship to saving the planet. And so here we are, facing a very dire winter.
You cannot win
Against somebody you can't say no to.
You cannot win against somebody you can't say no to. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right that what the European Union has done has dug themselves a hole with a World Economic Forum global reset agenda, which eliminates fossil fuels, turn off nuclear power. And now you have a populace that's rising up. You're seeing a populist revolt in Italy.
Yes.
You're seeing them all over Europe now. You're seeing, and by the way, they won't broadcast these protests, of course, in Germany and other areas. People are fed up and they're watching it unfold. And I'm telling you guys, we are on the precipice here. But tomorrow is the most telling day. We have fewer than 24 hours now in the Donbass. Once we get these votes, once voting is wrapped up tomorrow, we're going to start to see the groundwork laid for this new world order. Like, what comes next is incredibly troubling, and we should all be prepared for it.
And what do you think of the possibility that it's not a nuclear attack, but it's a cyber nuclear attack, as in turn your country off, which they have proven that they can do. Basically, they did it to Ukraine in 2017, all but just shut them all off.
Yeah, I mean, again, that could be a part of it. I think it's going to be a natural resources war.
But again, that also could fall in line with cyber, right? Like, there are ways to shut down your car, your elevator,
shut down the pipeline.
Right.
Yeah, the pipeline, right.
More than that, though, like you remote shutdown of, like, they absolutely could do it and just say, you're not on the internet anymore.
Right.
Italy, right?
They could shut
Germany.
down every Tesla.
Yeah.
I see people in the chat saying, EMPs. Jay Thomas saying EMPs, right? Electromagnetic pulse.
Right.
Absolutely the case.
Your computer is gone. It doesn't even turn on anymore, period, right? The elevator that you're in, I'm going to stop that right there, mid-flight, that kind of thing. Like, those things could happen and it would scare the crap out of everybody, right? And then they could say, knock this off, I'll turn you back on, but you better behave yourself.
Well, I think it's really interesting to hear Jordan Peterson saying this, President Trump saying this, a number of people saying, look, we would lose a war against Russia if we were going to provoke that bear.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we have no business. Why the hell, like Americans and Europeans, quite honestly, should be asking themselves, why are you provoking? Why are you sending billions of dollars? Why are you allowing your governments to provoke this bear?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about the territorial integrity of this country.
Yeah, show us something that shows that it's deserved. Show us something that justifies that thinking. Show us one thing that justifies it.
Oh, no, we had Kamala Harris say that we're standing for her principles. That's what we got.
Democratic principles.
So that's what we got. Take that to the bank, please.
You know, even if you think, okay, even if after all of this, after 8 years of them violating the Minsk agreements and continuing to shell and attack the Donbass, right? And you think, okay, and Putin says, you know what, we don't want to be involved in this. We're going to step in to help the people of the Donbass and secure that because there's a genocide going on there. Like, is that enough of a justification? And if you don't, and you think, okay, that happened, but we're all probably on the same side. We don't agree with war and actually military force.
Clarify what you said when you said they, you meant Ukraine. You didn't mean Russia because you,
right.
you segmented, right?
Yeah.
That's okay.
I mean, you know, again, I come down on the sting side of this, like war is never the answer, right? So, but at some point after 8 years, when you've tried to go through peace agreement, and they continue to shell your the ethnic Russians, what do? I mean, what would we do? What would the United States do if Cuba continued to shell Puerto Rico after 8 years? Like a year in and year... Actually, U.S. would probably do nothing, as you see the response to Hurricane Fiona. Like, literally send billions to Ukraine, and the island is underwater and the electricity is shut off.
Yeah.
But we're definitely sending billions to Ukraine. So maybe that's not a good example. We probably would ignore Puerto Rico because 100 years ago, when we took it by force from the Spanish, it was important. Now, for whatever reason, the United States is like, it's not important anymore, I guess. We have enough sugar cane, I guess. I don't know.
I suppose. Yeah, we don't need those workers, you know. Incidentally, my family was part of that migration where the United States, needed workers in Hawaii and took them from Puerto Rico and sent them over to Hawaii. So, yeah, I guess there's no need to do that now.
Yeah. Well, we've got more news to get to. We're going to talk about Italy here in a second and why this is a huge populist uprising and it's a rejection of the European Union. We're going to look at the World Economic Bank taking the World Economic Forum, going after your bank accounts. And we're going to look at the FDA coming out against booster shots. So earlier in the chat, someone said, can we have a positive story today? And I think this next story is actually a real positive if you support, citizens and you support the integrity of countries.
Okay. Andiamo, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Italians have elected a new political party called the Brothers of Italy, and with it comes a sister for a leader.
Led by a woman.
Right. So I want you to meet Giorgia Meloni. She will likely become Italy's first female prime minister when she is formally appointed in October. This is her sort of grazie Instagram. She posts a lot on Instagram, and this was after her party won over the weekend. Now, the Western press doesn't really know what to make of her. They had been trying to make her this far leftist, sort of Italian Trump in the run-up to the election, but that didn't seem to hurt her. So now they seem to want to tell her that she's moderate. So if it's funny to watch the narrative, because up until yesterday's election, it's like she's extreme, she's anti-immigration, she's anti-this, she's far left, she's the next Mussolini. And then headlines like this. No, she's a moderate now, actually. We thought she was far right, but she's not. She's going to do what we told her to do.
So she won't leave the European Union. I see people in the chat saying she's a member of the World Economic Forum. She's a WEFer.
This is interesting about what she is or what she's not, right? A big question over the weekend is will she play nicely with others in the European Union? Because European President European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is worried about her. She was asked last week about Italy voting for the Brothers of Italy party, and she issued this thinly veiled threat to sanction the country if the result is not what she wanted. Listen.
We'll see if things go in a difficult direction. I've spoken about Hungary and Poland. We have tools. If things go in the right direction, and people as a body that is always, where always governments have to be accountable to, play an important role.
Okay, so what she's doing is she's saying, look over there in the corner. Who's wearing the dunce cap? Italy and Poland, right? You don't want to end up like them. You're going to get a spanking and a timeout.
Some people were saying it was too quiet, so she was basically.
I'm sorry
yeah,
about
the volume
that.
was really low. That she was basically saying, hey, the sanctions. Well, we will sanction Italy.
Right.
We will sanction Italy if they don't vote the way we want them to.
She's saying we have tools like the ones we used on Hungary and Poland. Those two over there who have taken their lashes and have the dunce cap. Right. So what is it she did to Hungary? Well, the EU is halting 7.5 billion euros that is meant for Hungary because they're not happy with Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Now, they say he's had a long corruption problem and that he funnels state aid to his family and friends, which may be true, but Hungary is in the European Union. They didn't have a problem with this before until he did this. You can see that he's rubbed many in the bloc the wrong way by cultivating continued close ties with Vladimir Putin and is threatening to deny EU unity needed to impose and preserve sanctions on Russia for waging war against Ukraine. Prime Minister Orban has continuously spoken out against these sanctions. Before they even started, he said, this is not going to work. I don't like it. I don't want to fall in line. So he continues to get in trouble. Van der Leyen says that, if they don't like what the new Italian government does, then they'll do the same. Poland is similarly really scandalized by this comment over the weekend. In fact, the Polish prime minister blasts this as scandalous. He says, is this the kind of Europe we want? Is this democracy and rule of law that you point to us and say, see, we didn't like what they were doing, so we slapped their hands. So the rest of you, so now I don't know what she's going to do to make right on this sort of using Poland as the bad kid example. So what is it that the powers that be want Meloni to do? What she takes office? Well, they want her to toe the line, right? Only that's not why she was elected. They wanted her to stop towing the line. Italians have had it up to here with towing the line, right? Basta così, stop this, enough. They were absolutely sick of Mario Draghi for this reason. Draghi did basically whatever the EU wanted during COVID lockdowns. He was one of the first to institute vaccine passports. He took away rights of the unvaccinated. He went along with sanctions on Russia, and it has basically crushed the Italian economy, much like the rest of Europe, right? Now, the press is telling us that this had low turnout for Italian elections, one of the lowest in recent history, but they had 64% voted. When you consider that 66% in the United States is a high turnout.
Right. Oh, yeah. When you have 100 million people in the United States that don't even vote.
Well, the press, did victory laps around Joe Biden getting a 66% vote in the well, he did not get 66%. That election had a 66% participation rate of voters. And we said, oh my God, record turnout, right?
Right.
But in Italy, 64% is record low. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
They expect such higher participation.
I mean, they had so many people turn out. And of course, this, I don't know, I feel like this is a real warning sign for Europe. I mean, I think you're absolutely seeing the fissures emerging here from a populist standpoint in Europe, that people saying enough, why are we having to suffer? Why are we paying ridiculous amounts for petrol? Why are we paying a ridiculous amount for energy and gas? Why are we being told that we have to adhere to draconian masking rules and all sorts of things? And we're sick and tired of it. But we can send billions of dollars, and the European Union can support any war in Ukraine and all of the money that we're sending to Ukraine.
Well, Meloni had initially said that she went along with sanctions, but then she campaigned on how much sanctions were hurting everyday Italians. And people felt like that message hit home. Although her party only won, the numbers are range between 23 and 26% of the vote. But still, now she's saying, well, I don't feel like I need to lift sanctions right away. She won't even really take office until October. So she has started to signal more moderate policies, especially on the economy. She more supports, what's the word I'm talking, stimulus for everyday Italians, raising the, I'm sorry, I'm way past my notes. So she wants to raise pensions in order to help pay for these types of things. We thought that maybe she would stand against the NATO bloc, but now she's sort of indicating that maybe she doesn't. Whereas initially, maybe Italy thought that they had someone who would lead them out of the European Union and out of these fights that are not really Italian fights. And maybe that's the case, or maybe it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think the case, it's still up in the air to see what kind of a ruling party she can, government she's able to put together, because initially it seemed that way. And then it seemed to turn that, no, I'm not going to do anything dramatic, she says. I'm not going to do anything dramatic.
Yeah.
So now, okay, were they sold a bill of goods? And is she really like just another, a wolf in sheep's clothing, I guess?
Maybe. I'm really interested in her and how they call her so right wing too, right? She's like as if she is female Trump and she's willing to just say whatever. She is anti-immigration, mostly because the Italian government is hurting so much. And it's really hard to support the people that they've got right now. And these are some people's economics, right? Some people say that immigration will actually increase GDP and some people think it won't. So her math is that you need to not let so many people in so that the government doesn't run at this, I think it's 150% debt to income right now.
Well, and they're trying to get young people to move back to Italy. I mean, there's so many different, Sardinia is rolling out government programs to try to get young people to move to Sardinia. There's all sorts of little, like you can buy an Italian villa because young people are just moving out of Italy. They don't want to be there anymore. So they have an age population, or they have a population problem. They have a population crisis in a lot of cities all throughout Italy right now.
Right. And so this comment in the chat is that she's pro-Christian and she's a woman, is also why they call her far right. So she says she's traditional family, pro-traditional family. She's not married. She has a domestic partner who is a man, and they have a child, that's 6-year-old daughter. They say she's sort of anti-LGBT. She's not. She's anti-LGBT lobbyists. She says, and she said recently on an interview that she thinks that children should have the right to a mother and a father when asked about gay adoption. Now, she didn't say she wants to change the laws on gay marriage. Gay marriage is not legal in Italy. It's a civil union.
She's also, I've watched an interview with her where she's pro-Syria, she's pro-Assad, she's again, these things that irk the establishment. Like, oh, you're pro-Assad? You're actually seeing through the garbage. You're actually seeing through the propaganda,
right, about
Syria, about these quote unquote regimes that the European Union and NATO certainly don't support and continue to create havoc in.
Right. So a lot is made about her sort of stance on the Italian family. She's anti-surrogacy. Here's a tweet from her last year saying, surrogacy is an abomination and it's being used as a bargaining chip. And if you want to sign here, you can join this petition about it. In fact, she has introduced anti-surrogacy legislation and again, spoken out against mass immigration. But again, the thing that I think is capturing the global attention is whether or not she's anti-NATO, anti-Russian, right? Pro-West, anti-West. Will she continue with sanctions? Will she not? She has shown herself to support Russian President Putin. She said his election was, a great example of democracy. And she has spoken out against sanctions since the conflict began, but she's not really indicating now that she will yank those sanctions, even though by some measure, more than half of Italians do not support sending arms and money to Ukraine in order to harm the government they've got now. Now, this doesn't sound like a huge shakeup to me, but I found this one other little bit very interesting about her is that the press loves to call her a fantasy buff. Like, as in, she likes to read fantasy stories. The media is saying she's in search of the ring of power, like Gandalf. Like, look at this France 24 story. And it's because, she actually really does like to follow fantasy, like Harry Potter and Tolkien and that kind of thing. And I found this interesting as a dig at her. Apparently in Italy, the love of fantasy is a symbol of the far right. Kind of like, how in America, military patriotism is a lot of times co-opted by the right as their main platform. Or I guess in Italy, the far right sees symbolism as an important piece of their political tenet. And I am interested in this idea of politics as fantasy, and fantasy as a template for the human experience.
Why are they slamming my Hobbit? Why are they slamming my Lord of the Rings?
I don't know if they're slamming it, but they're trying to make it seem like she's not a serious person. But I want to just for a minute pretend that folklore is important to politics.
Okay.
If you could just
Allow
humor
you?
me for
Okay.
this, right? So I like to read Joseph Campbell, and he tells us that every culture has his own version of a hero's journey in their folklore, right? And they tell a similar tale of inspiration for what adventure is like in life. So here is kind of a template of the hero's journey is, right? The hero is called to some kind of adventure. There's some kind of beginning of an adventure. Then at the bottom, like they're in the abyss, they're in the belly of the whale, right? And then somehow they atone, they transform, and then they return to their society having become a new person because they've conquered their life's journey, right? And so this is absolutely Tolkien. These are all the things that she likes. For instance, her first political party was called the Seagulls, after the motivational book from Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. So, we can sort of, George Lucas used the hero's journey to create Star Wars.
Right.
Luke Skywalker is the quintessential, Buddha,
It's the ultimate
Rapunzel,
hero's
Captain
journey.
America, Brave. I could keep going, right?
Yeah.
The point of these stories is that you are the hero of your journey, and you have things to learn that society does not want you to know. And when you learn those things and come out of the belly of the whale, you've learned something that you have to share in order to help your society be better. But you have to leave your village, right? You have to be called away from what's normative. You have to follow the supernatural calling, like the will-o'-the-wisps, right? You follow them.
The alchemist.
So this is what I'm so fascinated is, what does that mean to now a world leader? The prime minister of Italy. I don't know. No one does. We'll have to see. But is this that in her political view that maybe has nothing to do with her politics, right? Or do we actually have a leader who's willing to accept that the human experience is based on a soul journey that is outside of these conventions of politics and is willing to go there, right? Outside of established man-made orders? Or will she just put all that aside and stand for pictures at the COP26?
I mean, it's really hard, right? Because you're up against all of these massive forces. You have you have Brussels, you have the European Union, you have Ursula von der Leyen, and you have Brussels telling you, how to react, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. It might be a little far-fetched, but the press keeps dragging this in as if she's a crazy, fantasy buff.
Right.
I'm saying this to you, and I'm looking at your Star Trek figures above your shoulder, and that makes you an unserious person. Or maybe she's inspired by things that actually could help out with the collective experience. So I know that was a little out there. I wanted to entertain it.
Am I an unserious person because I read science fiction? I've got Dune. I've got my Star Trek books up here. It makes me? I've got my Tolkien books.
I don't think that makes you a not serious person. We're not running for office, so I don't know if anyone would say that. No. I think it's an odd dig, right?
Yeah, it's really weird that the New York Times, and that they had this ready to go. So they have this hit piece on her, right as she's about to win, and they launched this whole piece about how she dressed up as a hobbit.
Hobbit camp. Yeah.
I want to go to Hobbit camp. I would go if I was a youngster and hey, you want to go to summer camp, but you're going to go to a Hobbit camp. You're going to go to New Zealand where they shot in Hobbiton. My friend lives in New Zealand where they have the whole Hobbiton town set up, and you can go and actually do that where they shot Lord of the Rings. I'd be down for that. I would camp there in a heartbeat.
Right.
I would too.
Yeah.
So would you
Me
be
and Bilbo.
more likely to vote for a politician that takes inspiration from fiction or folklore, or would you not?
Yes, I would. I absolutely would. I think it shows a level of awareness about the I don't know, about the human condition and about fantasy and about the factors that maybe are hard to vocalize too. Hard to put into words.
Yeah. Okay.
About the human condition.
Well, thank you for humoring me with that sort of philosophical conversation around the new Prime Minister of Italy, and we will see what she does and whether or not she does so in a Gandalf robe.
That's right. We've got more news to get to here on the show. We're going to talk about the WEF and your bank accounts and the new plan to freeze your bank accounts. We'll tell you about that. We're also going to be talking about the FDA and what that means for COVID boosters for youngsters. Some startling information from the FDA, a story we've been following for you here and for a long time, and we will continue to follow that story. But first, if you'd like to get up to 13 free stocks, sorry, 15, I changed this up. 15 free stocks. Yes, 15. And through the next few days until October, you can get 15 free stocks valued up to $32,000. You can by opening a free trading account with our friends at Moomoo, using the link on our screen. Now, Moomoo is a NASDAQ company with a market value of $6 billion and a global user base of 18 million people. Look, the markets are absolutely in the toilet right now. But commodities, investing in silver, investing in gold, investing in commodities, and being smart about it might not be your play right at the moment because things are crazy. That's fine. Open your free account, get your 15 free stocks, and just wait. Don't do anything. Just wait and watch what's happening. And if you want to, I saw an article yesterday in Bloomberg how buying the dip has been crap. Like people buying the dip right now, the dip continues to dip. It keeps going down, down, down. Well, now's an opportunity. Inside of Moomoo, they have a whole college-like training course where you can learn how to invest in these things, like the commodities that are, to me, and fossil fuels and really, really important resources for our future. You can do that just by opening a Moomoo account. So that link right there, redacted.inc/Moomoo, you get 15 free stocks just for opening your account and making that initial deposit. It's for U.S.-based openers as well. Australia is giving away, I think they have a $50 bonus. If you're an Australian user, you can open your account in Australia. We have a special link for that as well to get you 180 days of brokerage-free trading for for Australian stocks and U.S. stocks. Again, so check them out. Go to redacted.inc/Moomoo today to get your 15 free stocks. All right. And by the way, I should mention up here on the big screen above the beautiful city of Porto, out the window of Porto, you can, your name, when you subscribe to the channel, your name will pop right up here live during the show. So if you're not subscribed already, please do that, and it'll pop right up here on the big screen, right over the.
And can I just say, over the weekend, I saw a really nice threaded conversation on the YouTube channel about how nice both of your mouths are. You guys both have very nice mouths.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Thank you.
It was like an actual conversation, a threaded conversation where people were talking about your mouths. So.
In our YouTube comments?
Yeah, and the conclusion was they're both great. So.
Oh, okay.
And it was very nice, very, very respectful conversation.
Thank you.
That's great.
Clayton has the natural frown when his mouth is closed.
I've got resting dick face.
Resting frown, like that.
Yeah. I don't suffer. I don't suffer fools.
Yeah.
I don't suffer fools well. So
I think it's handsome.
Louise Haggerty just subscribed at the beginning of the show. Welcome, Louise. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's get to it. Well, we warned you it was coming. We've been warning you, I think, for a couple of months that it's been coming. The attack on your bank account, have we not, on this show?
Oh, yes.
And here is the World Economic Forum. Here they are. They're launching a new phase in the consolidation of power. It is literally like a teaser trailer for what they're about to do to us. It's really, really troubling, which is to take away your ability to pay for things using government currency. They've already been laying the groundwork for this during COVID, right? During COVID. Remember when they told us that you should stay away from cash? They told us this. They told us because COVID could live on the surface of cash. Watch this.
Well, health experts say the coronavirus can live on surfaces like cash for up to 10 days. That has many people worried about shopping and other everyday tasks.
Yeah. Everyone's worried about
Is
this.
that only the bills or coins as well?
Oh, everything. Don't touch any
clear.
cash.
Oh.
It could have viruses all over it. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. I mean, it's... And what's so sad is there's people at home like going, oh, honey, we can't do it. Yeah, we can't touch the cash anymore. We can't. And they're like listening to these people. This is how the propaganda rolls out to people. This is what makes me really upset. I think one of the things that really makes me upset about it is how they prey on people who are just trying to like live their lives, and they take advantage of those people. Right? So they'll put out news reports. They put all this spin, how you need to do this to protect your community. This is how you're going to protect your community by not touching cash and coins. And that's how you'll stay safe.
Right.
And then people do it. How many people here watching us right now actually believe that crap when it was rolled out? I mean, for like a brief second, I was like, wait a minute. Well, I can't use cash because it has COVID on it? Really?
You never carry your wallet anyway.
No, I never. Well, no, I never. I don't, because I don't want stuff in my pockets.
And because your wife will.
I know my wife will. Yeah, my wife has 8 bags. So I'm like, when we go out to eat, I'm like, it's coming out of our account anyway. Like, just use
Hey, now, way back when cargo pants were in, I would get invited a lot to go out with my friends because they would want to go dancing, and I didn't dance. So because I had cargo pockets, I was everybody's walking purse because they didn't want to bring one to the dance floor. So I know all about that, Natalie.
Yes. Now, when I had cargo pants and cargo shorts, those extra utility pockets. Yes, I absolutely did that. I saw someone in the chat saying, yes, I believe that. Absolutely, that was the case with the cash. I was told not to do that, so I didn't do it. Now, Starbucks, you've heard this story, maybe. Starbucks going cashless. So this popped up a few weeks ago, and it's amazing. Here's a sign in Starbucks, a number of different Starbucks. We're going cashless. Starting October 1st, we'll only be accepting card, contactless, and Starbucks and rewards payments. Dear customers, this location is testing a cashless concept. Here's another one. Currently not accepting cash as a form of payment. No more cash, right? If you have any questions, call a barista or call our 800 number. Here's another one. We're going cashless at this Starbucks from October 1st. And a lot of these were popping up all over the place. And then, so Starbucks had to respond. Like, well, no, it's not. A bunch of fact check articles come out because, they always want to make sure that they're taking care of us, right? So these fact check articles are garbage because they're like, well, it's not true. Yeah, in a way it is. A lot of Starbucks locations are going cashless, but these aren't the corporate Starbucks locations. These are the independent operators of Starbucks. Who the hell cares?
I don't know.
Right? I mean, okay, it's not the ones that are owned by like corporate headquarters. It doesn't matter, right? It's still a policy at your store, and it's a Starbucks store. And this is happening at store after store after store. And a few months ago, the International Monetary Fund and 10 member countries decided to take part in what would seem like ridiculous, but it actually happened, a cyber attack on the global financial system. Here they did. The EMF and the IMF and 10 countries simulated a cyber attack on the global financial system. It's sort of like a war games. Among the war games, if you read the text of this, the simulated war game, as Israel's finance ministry calls it, and planned over the past year, evolved over 10 days, with sensitive data emerging on the dark web. The simulation also used fake news reports that in the scenario caused chaos in global markets and a run on banks. The simulation, likely caused by what officials called sophisticated players, featured several types of attacks that impacted global foreign exchange and bond markets, liquidity, integrity of data, and transactions between importers and exporters. These events are creating havoc in the financial markets, said a narrator of a film shown to the participants as part of the simulation.
Okay.
These events are creating havoc in the financial markets.
Well, don't we have to, though? Like, if we're going to move to a cashless society and we want to depend on Bitcoin and stuff and kind of like change the structure so they're not printing money and all this other stuff, don't we have to move in this direction? Like, I understand the danger because that means that the government's probably going to have some kind of cryptocurrency or digital currency that they can control. But doesn't that also open it up for us to actually have more control? Like, if we have money sitting in the bank, does the bank consider that cash or is that digital until we pull it out as cash?
No, it's digital. And here's the problem, right? So I've come around on this. I mean, I've definitely evolved on my point of view on this. And my point of view is like, so it was in my head a number of years ago, cash is trash, right? Cash is trash. And the reason I say that, not because COVID lives on it, but because if you've got, $10 in a savings account in the United States, that money is losing value every day against inflation, right? Because the 0.01% interest that you're getting on that in that interest-bearing savings account,
yes, because it's not a performing asset, but
is losing value up against inflation.
Yes.
So when I say cash is trash, that's what I mean. Like if your future of your family is tied to money in a savings account at a Bank of America branch, you need to get your head examined. That is going to lose value. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it makes a lot of sense to have a digital currency. And I've evolved on that too. No, because what it is it's power in the hands of these few global elites. It's their power control. When you control the money supply and the food supply, you control everything.
Well, Bitcoin isn't, but now that the governments have decided to launch their own cryptocurrency, it will mimic the same problems.
Right. And they're going to clamp down on cryptocurrency. So they're going after.
The governments have decided not to allow that because there is a finite number of Bitcoin that can
21 million.
That can be mined, and the same with other cryptocurrencies. And because they can't get in there and verify the blockchain in order to tax profits, and they can't find who owns it. So these are all things that the government absolutely wants to be able to do as part of our social contract. So they won't allow it, right?
So here's what the World Economic Forum just launched, which is their new financial system collapse. This is like a trailer for what they are about to do to us, guys. Watch this. This is jaw-dropping. I'll just read it to you as well. Companies have come to rely on one another in a network of critical interdependencies. This means disruption and more easily grow and spread throughout the system, with repercussions that could affect us all. It means that a severe snowstorm, for example, or a cyber attack could cut off people's access to money both in person and online, a situation that could lead to widespread panic and a loss of trust. An average cyber ripple event impacts 10 additional companies beyond the firm originally affected. Last year's cyber attack on U.S. software company SolarWinds highlighted the risk of interconnectedness. Is that it?
Do you want more music?
So what happens if you can't access your money? I mean, we have to imagine, we recently saw what happens to, like, in Greece, in Afghanistan, and most recently in Lebanon, where a man went into a bank branch to get his money, and he was told that he couldn't get it. And what did he do? He brought a gun back. He's like, I want my money back. I want to take care of my family.
And then became a national hero.
Right, because there wasn't the money in the banks. They had a 40% inflation rate.
Yeah.
Right?
No, the money's in Harry's house, and the money's over in Cheryl's house. You see, it's not here.
Right.
It never is. It's never in the bank, right? That's the great.
No, in fact,
great problem here.
It used to be that the bank had to keep at least 10% of all deposits in the bank and then lend out 90%. That was dropped, I think, during COVID to. Was it 0% or less than 5%?
It was 0. It went down to 0.
Right.
Now they don't have to have anything.
They don't have to have any, so they can continue to create money based on a shared belief system.
Yeah, it's a fractional reserve banking, which is they only had to, if you put in $100, they only had to keep $10 in the bank.
It's not fraction anymore. It's full reserve banking, zero reserve.
So this tweet from Alchemical Daddy, pointed this out and did some great job collating some of this, and some of this I forgot about. But the symbolism is potent in this ad. Extreme weather freezing your bank account equals liquidity freeze. Warning of the severe snowstorm or cyber attack, climate change, and cyber pandemic programming. Have a ripple effect, it says. It hints at a solution, Ripple, XRP, maybe. But definitely a digital currency, right? And their own way to control it. The gist of the platform is that the WEF rolled out their own platform on poverty, which is about the financial inclusion. So you can read this right on the World Economic Forum's website. The gist of this platform is that we can remove poverty if you give us control of your money. Don't use cash.
Oh, yes. This absolutely.
It's like those people. The people that hide money under your mattress, guess what? You will not be able to hide money anywhere in this system. Like, you will not be able to hide a penny.
No, we will control it all. We don't want you to have any, you're going to go to a garage sale on the weekend. None of that. Sorry, that's out the window. You're not going to do any of that. You will literally tap and pay. We'll make sure that those people have, point of sale things at the garage sale so you can just tap your device, right? This is why we need gold and silver. Like, this is why we need tangible assets, guys, because they are coming for it. So in this piece, how financial inclusion can help lift people out of poverty at the World Economic Forum, and they specifically point to women. They say financial inclusion, including access to digital financial services, is an important policy objective because it helps people manage their money better. Accounts give you greater control over your money, your financial life. It empowers women.
In fact, this was part of the narrative that Bill Clinton went around the press this weekend talking about at his Clinton Global Initiative. And he said some of the best things that we've done here at the Clinton Global Initiative to help progress in third world countries is we give these microfinancing to women, their businesses.
Right.
And that providing them with these loans really helps to lift up an entire economy, lifts them out of poverty, right? But these microloans, guess who gets to track them? Guess who makes money on them, right? This was a big part of his message, which, again, most of the Western media let him say with full access platforms on the airwaves this weekend.
Yeah, and of course, no contradictory statements or no pressing him on this. Oh, 1 billion people are in poverty and 1 billion people don't have access to banks. What if we could control all of those people by giving them a digital bank account that we control?
And debt, right?
Yeah, and that's how we keep Africa and all these other countries in poverty, is with the IMF and making sure that they're in loan and debt to us.
You're missing a huge point, though. You're missing the biggest point. Like, how are we ever going to... It's going to be a sacrifice to tax the wealthy. That's the only way we can do it, is by these microtransactions.
Yeah.
Because we know that the bulk of... Yeah, exactly. Again, the IRS getting 86,000 new agents at the IRS. It's not to go after the wealthy. It's to go after poor people. That's exactly what it's about. So how is this all unfolding? Well, we've seen some examples of this, like in news reports. How about this woman who can't get access? Everything in her account's just frozen. She can't get access to it. So she has no money. It's all frozen. Here's how it happens. Watch.
It was a disastrous deep freeze that lasted more than half a year. A New Jersey healthcare worker's bank account inexplicably frozen. All of the money she had in the world suddenly out of her grasp. She was near the breaking point until a friend gave what she calls the best advice. Call Nina Pineda and get 7 on her side.
Well, okay.
So we called ABC News and we got Nina Pineda on our side. Here's another man who can't get access to his money. Watch this one.
Many banks closing branches as more customers bank online and fewer go into the bank in person. But for one East Bay man, it caused a mild panic, actually. The Bank of America shut down his branch just hours after he made a huge deposit and his money disappeared. So you can imagine how worried he was. So he came to 7 on Your Side's Michael Phineas.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
Everyone's going to ABC to get 7 on their side to get my money back. But this is how the WEF plans to, scare us about the financial system. I want to play this again. Just watch their messaging now that we've had some context here. Watch. So we got to make sure we're taken care of at the World Economic Forum. We'll take care of you. It is like a soft launch for like what they're planning to do. It's like here, and they've done this before. Like, here's a few videos, here's a few news articles, here's part of our platform. Watch this unfold about COVID. I mean, again, all of the stuff was there, right? Yeah. Here we are, lockdowns, everything. Here we are on our website. We're saying this could happen. We're not really sure, but we think that it might happen. So, be prepared, because we want to install a universal digital currency that we will control.
Absolutely. Well, this weekend, our daughters bought those leather folders that you like put credit cards in to, when you go out to eat. And our youngest one was like, what if you don't have money? Because they're just plain restaurant, right? So they like wrote out these credit cards and they're like, what if you don't have money with you? And you can't pay. And I was telling our youngest, you have to wash dishes. So I wonder if you don't have a digital way to pay, will you then be washing dishes? Right?
I guess. I mean,
and can you wash them digitally?
It's amazing to think like where we would have a totally cashless, no government currency. There would be no, there'd be no EU, there would be no pound, there would be no ruble.
But the government's main line against Bitcoin was that it was too complicated for the average person. But then this form of a cashless society isn't. It sort of breaks apart that argument.
Right. Like again, I was sort of on the side of, okay, I see this during a disaster, right? Here's the idea that we're going to create a digital currency that in the case of a disaster and your bank is closed because of a hurricane, right? Your town is destroyed. Well, how are you going to get money for basic items, right? If you have no access to your money, you can't go to an ATM, you can't do any of that. What we will do in the form of an emergency is we will then make deposits into your digital wallet. The government controlled Jerome Powell central bank digital wallet. And then you'll be able to use that. Now I've got a few, okay, great, stimulus money is here, boom, I'm good to go. I saw the merit in that. But this is how, once you see the merit in it, you also see like this is the backdoor way of getting you to be compliant.
Yeah.
Right? Is to scare you with this idea of there's a hurricane, there's this and that. And this is why you need a digital wallet. This is why you should never use cash because it has COVID on it. And we will control everything you need from now on.
Yes, but then they are the beneficiaries of pro-crypto research, right? Like, yes, that's a great way. It's safe. We can simulate the blockchain. You guys are all on board with it, but let us control it.
Right. Yeah. Forget Bitcoin. We'll control our own digital currency. Go ahead, David.
Well, I was just going to say, like, this is like, think about like if they have an argument about your taxes and you don't figure them out right. And they're like, oh, no, you owe this. And like, no, I have an accountant or I have a lawyer that's figuring this out. And they just shut off your money. Like they'll just shut it off.
This is what Elizabeth Warren wants to do, is create a federally run H&R Block type system that calculates what you pay and then takes it from you immediately. Whereas with H&R Block, you can say, I don't think that deduction was taken right. I want to ask an expert about this, or I want to move this. No. With the federal system, if Liz Warren gets her way, it will be federally run. You put everything in, it calculates, it takes from you, you're done here. Which terrifies me.
Scary. Let us know Go ahead, Phil.
I was going to say, I wonder if I'm the only person that, like, during this story I've checked my own bank account twice just to be sure
that it's still there.
I mean, this is the thing. It can be seized, taken. So again, this is why we need to protect our families. I mean, this is a show about protecting your family tonight. Like, how do you protect your family? Making sure that you have some way. I mean, Catherine Austin Fitts talks about when the collapse of the Soviet Union happened, the number one most valuable thing that people were trading was vodka. And literally, it was a currency. It became a currency. So I'm not saying everyone go out and buy vodka, but what I'm telling you is that, like, when shit hits the fan, we need to be prepared with real, tangible things: gold, silver, yes, commodities.
Don't you have a boot camp or something?
I do, actually.
About that?
Yes, we do have our. If you go to
Financial Freedom Academy.
Yes, we have our Financial
Freedom Academy. Is about how to learn to manage your money as a family and own assets, things that are not cash, but things that perform. We've told the allegory many times of the person in Zimbabwe who, when their cash was basically worth next to nothing, said, well, then I'm going to have to start buying up goats. Because at least a goat is a performing asset, one of the very few true performing assets, right? And so you need to decide what in your family is your goat, if you will.
Right, your chicken.
And start collecting your goats.
Yeah, protect yourselves, guys. Protect yourselves. All right.
But you didn't tell them how to get to it.
financialfreedomacademy.com. You can go there too. It's a course we've had for a couple of years. If anyone's interested in learning more, you can go there and check it out. Thank you for mentioning that.
All right, an FDA advisor and vaccine maker is saying now that the new Omicron booster shot is not for everyone. He said this in plain sight on CNN, but the mainstream media is pretending that he did not. I thought we might do this little exercise together because sometimes I feel like I must be on glue because I search for things that I maybe see on someone posts it on Twitter, and I'm like, okay, let me find that original source myself.
When you say glue, you mean drugs.
Yeah, like, am I sniffing glue? Because I cannot find this. Okay. It's an expression. Like, have I lost my marbles?
No,
right?
No, you haven't, because they keep this stuff from you.
Stain from the wood.
That might be true.
Yes.
So I thought let's try this together. Okay, I'm going to show you something that did happen on CNN with Dr. Paul Offit. He is one of the people on the FDA board that gets to vote yay or nay on COVID vaccines. And he said this to Erica Hill, and then I'm going to see if we can all find it together with just like a quick little search. Okay, so here is what he said, and then I'm going to prove to you that CNN is hiding this. Go ahead.
So the idea is there. The panel is meeting today. It's likely that they're going to recommend, right, this booster that does specifically target Omicron. So when people are trying to understand the difference, how do you explain it to them?
Well, here's what I would say. I think the question is who really benefits from another dose. I mean, the CDC has shown that people who've gotten 3 doses are generally are less likely to be hospitalized than those who got 2, and those who got 4 were less likely to be hospitalized than those who got 3. But who are those people? Who are those people who are getting hospitalized? It really falls into 3 groups. One is the elderly, meaning people over 65. 2 is people who have the kind of serious health problems, say chronic lung disease, which when they get a mild or moderate infection, lands them in the hospital. And 3 is people who are immune compromised. I think what the advisory committee is going to be voting on later this afternoon is are we going to allow distribution of the Moderna vaccine for everybody over 18, of the Pfizer vaccine for everybody over 12? And what I fear is that they're going to say everybody should get it, when in fact a healthy young person really is unlikely to benefit from a booster dose. And so I hope they target it more specifically to those really who are most likely to benefit from this additional dose.
So if they don't, because right now as it stands, if you are 50 and over, or if you have, a pre-existing condition, yes, you could be eligible. But otherwise, as you point out, younger people are not. If it is, in fact, authorized, Pfizer would be authorized for 12 and up, as you point out, Moderna 18 and up. Why not get it, right? If it does give you, even if it's a smaller benefit, is there any reason not to get the booster?
I think when you're asking people to get a vaccine, I think there has to be clear evidence of benefit. And we're not going to have clinical studies, obviously, before this launches, but you'd like to have at least human data. People, getting this vaccine, you see a clear and dramatic increase in neutralizing antibodies. And then at least you have a correlate of protection against BA4, BA5. Because if you don't have that, if there's not clear evidence of benefit, then it's not fair, I think, to ask people to take a risk, no matter how small. The benefit should be clear.
So if you search for this video, it happened just before Labor Day. If you search for, let's say, Paul Offit, Erica Hill, or Paul Offit on CNN, or so if you search on Google, if you search on CNN, you only find videos of him from 2021. Or really early in 2022.
Well, no, even if
you really cannot find, and I put it in so many different ways. Paul Offit Omicron booster, Paul Offit CNN, Paul Offit Erica Hill, Paul Offit, like I wanted to find this clip. The only way I could find it was going on Twitter.
So do you want me to, I don't know if you, I'm
Did
searching.
you find it easily?
No, not at all. I'm searching for it right now. So
okay, I would like anybody in the chat to let me know what is the search terms that you might have found
let me just, okay. So I searched for it and I found one from 2021. And when I went to go play that video, there's an issue. Now it's been removed. So CNN is like actively blocking and even removing old Paul Offit videos from their own website. Should children be vaccinated? This is from 2021, this video.
But the one we just showed you, which I thought was very interesting because it is for one of the first times we hear a physician saying that we should give the vaccine to people based on who they are and their individual pathology, which has not been allowed during the pandemic up until this point. And so why is this important video that represents a shift in thinking being taken down and blocked, right? So I just want to know if you have another tab open, let me know if you were able to find this video and what are the search terms. So again, the mainstream media is kind of pretending he did not say this. So just a few days ago, he published this in the Wall Street Journal. He says that the CDC is overselling the bivalent COVID shot. Now, this is an interesting take. I like this one person on Twitter saying that if this guy is saying that, then we really need to watch out, because he is not what we'd call an anti-vaxxer, although I don't like that word. Because it's sort of, it's like how it's got this negative connotation of someone who is not rational. He's not someone who is not for vaccines. In fact, he co-invented the rotavirus vaccine. What he's saying in this article is that the calculations of risk to benefit does not land in favor of taking this booster, especially for people who are healthy. So as you saw, Erica Hill pushed him and said, well, why not take it, as if it's just kind of like an extra multivitamin? But it's not like that, because there are risks. He still thinks it may be a favorable calculation for some populations, he says in the clip. The elderly, people with serious health concerns, and people who are immunocompromised. But he also says that he voted out against rolling out this new booster before clinical trials because he actually is a member of the FDA Vaccine Advisory Committee. He also says this in the Wall Street Journal, and I had not heard this before. He says, most worrisome, Moderna recently published a study on the clinical efficacy of the bivalent vaccine containing BA1. 16 cases of SARS-CoV infections occurred, 11 in the bivalent group and 5 in the monovalent group. So for those who suffered clinical illness, 5 were in the bivalent group and only 1 in the monovalent group. In other words, although the numbers were small, it seems like the monovalent vaccine performed better than the bivalent vaccine. So we know that Pfizer's vaccine has both BA4 and BA5, right? We know that Moderna's only has, in the UK, the one they're giving is BA1. And I think there also is a BA4 or 5 version in the United States, but it's just one.
Right.
Right. And so he's saying that there is some data that Pfizer's would be less effective because it's got 2 variants. Whereas the ones that only have, and so, but we're not being told that.
No, we're not being told that at all.
At all.
You had, I mean, last week we had the head of the CDC, Walensky, literally, Dr. Walensky, literally saying, she's like, our new plan for the fall is just go get the shot. Don't even ask questions. Like, that's our new mantra for the fall. That's what she said for the autumn.
Right.
Just go get the shot. When she was pressed on that issue, like, well, here's what we're seeing. What about myocarditis? What about these issues? You know what? We just got a new mantra for the fall, and that's just go get the shot.
Don't ask those questions, right? In fact, this is a nurse from San Diego. We're about to play you a video. She treated children in the cardiovascular intensive unit, and she says she's lost her job for asking questions about adverse effects. In fact, I mean, we don't have to go over all the serious adverse effects. We have them from Pfizer's own published data. There are enough anecdotally to consider. But this woman says because she was seeing these serious adverse effects in children, she asked her boss, why are we not reporting these to VIRS? And she lost her job. Listen.
Tony Bittner, I came before you guys a year ago. I'm a nurse, or at least I was, at Rady Children's in the cardiovascular intensive care unit until Nathan and his misinformation pandemic caused me to lose my job. I took care of those children who came in with myocarditis after the vaccine. And I talked to the doctors because I was a charge nurse, saying, why aren't we reporting these to VAERS? Who is going to report these to VAERS? It was an unspoken thing that we were not allowed to talk about openly on the unit. I've worked for 13 years in this community, taking care of some of the sickest patients. The day before I was taken away from my position, I was actively giving compressions to a child, pushing epi, pushing calcium into his veins to keep him alive. And we did. And he went home. And yet, I was ridiculed by those who are supposed to be my colleagues and my friends. I am the face of your misinformation campaign, Nathan. I am the one who lost my career in pediatric cardiovascular ICU care. I took care of children who had COVID. I never got COVID in the hospital. I tested twice a week. I wore my PPE because I loved my job. And I loved this community.
Thank you.
Okay. So the Nathan that she's talking to is the Board of Supervisors, a local supervisor in San Diego County, who last year said he wanted to combat health misinformation because of what he thought was low vaccine adoption. So he went out and started attacking people who would say anything against this vaccination program. Obviously, this woman has a perspective that is important. She worked all throughout the pandemic. She's saving lives, children's lives. She's asking questions. She didn't even say like, hey, let's tell the world about it. She just said, let's tell the FDA about it.
Right.
Let's tell the VAERS system, the adverse reporting system. Let's report it up to the normal channels. She was not trying to speak to the media. She's not posting things on social media, right? She wants to go through the normal channels, and she's canceled because of what this local supervisor is calling health misinformation. Obviously, her experience, I don't know how you can say that her experience is health misinformation. But again,
someone in our chat says, when a nurse says there's a problem, you listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're seeing it. They're in the trenches, right?
Right.
And it's a great point about just reporting it to the VAERS system. We've talked about on this show how the VAERS system, we're one of the few countries that actually has, I mean, us in the UK, right, these adverse effects reporting systems. Israel didn't have one. And look what trouble they got in as a result of it. But it's only a fraction of the problems even go to that system in the first place. Imagine. So
and Peter McAuliffe said it's probably around 1% to 2% is all we get because of situations like this. They don't. It's very time consuming, like 40 minutes to an hour to fill out, and you need a professional because you have to put in terminology that most patients wouldn't know.
Most lay people, you can't just say like, Mom, go to that VAERS system and tell them what happened to you at the hospital. They're not going to do it.
But you'd think if you're someone like this who seemingly well-intentioned and you've just taken your hands off of a sick child and you're like, something's not right in the world, you are at that point extremely motivated to go and take this up the proper channels so that that child did not suffer in vain. Right. And you can then elevate this cause so that it prevents future suffering of children. And if she's not even allowed to do that with the tools that we've got, something is seriously wrong here when we're not even asked.
Well, she's treated like, I was just going to say, she's treated like she's got an agenda of some kind, but it's like, no, my agenda is to save these children, to help these people. But it's like, if you talked negatively about any of it, you had an agenda, and that just makes no sense.
Right. And I don't know what are the other circumstances around her termination. Maybe she was seeking help from supervisors and that was not allowed. I'm sure there's plenty that we don't know. But this clip has rallied a lot of people and said, it's not misinformation to listen to her experience. Let's listen to her experience. And then also, can you please tell me how many of these children she, in fact, did treat, and were they reported? This is provable. We can seek that out through patient records.
Right. Yeah, it'd be easy to track that. Just like last week when we talked about the blood clots on the show. Go ahead, Philip.
I was gonna say it's very similar just in that explanation. Like to use another example, like if I'm at work and I see a clear like safety hazard, I'm looking at something, I was like, that could hurt somebody. And so I go to like my department's safety people and I'm like, hey, I think this thing over here could hurt somebody. And they're like, well, that is complete misinformation. You're fired.
Yeah.
Like, misinformation to who?
Right.
Like if you're
meaning
like,
they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Also, someone in our chat just said the proper channels. I like that. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it. Right. She just was trying to report this to the proper channels. But what if the proper channels are total garbage to begin with? right? What if they have an agenda from the beginning?
But those kind of people who go around the proper channels are easier to bat down because you could just play whack-a-mole with them. Like, oh, you're being a crazy person on the internet. You should have come to your supervisors. Instead, you ran your mouth on Facebook and got us all in trouble. But if someone is actually trying to use the tools at their disposal, it's harder to knock down that person.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, my point is, if the tools at your disposal are fake or are...
Well, they're highly problematic,
Right.
absolutely. And we don't even get that data. We've had to parse it out of Pfizer's data. I think what's important about this story, though, obviously this person is a casualty of so many things, right? I could go down a list. But she's trying to ask questions about adverse effects that we have not been able to ask. And now we are actually getting a vaccine advisor who is saying that now we need to start to evaluate what we respond to in the pandemic based on individual pathology. So if you are not elderly or immunocompromised, maybe it's not time for you to, lock down, take these vaccines, right? Instead of during the pandemic, the heart of it, when we all had to lock down, all kids were taken out of school, we all had to take these vaccines, right? So it's time now to consider individual health because this per population calculation should have been always done like this. It's shameful that it took so long.
Yeah, truly. Truly, and as someone has said in the chat just a moment ago, they went to try to find that transcript of that Paul Offit interview has also been removed and scrubbed. So, yeah, they're doing...
Okay, so I'm not... I'm crazy. I am.
You are crazy.
But I'm not crazy for this. This is actually being hidden from us. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you for validating me on that point. You guys, I go nuts when I see something on Twitter and I'm like, I should see that for myself. And then I go seek it out and it's just not there. What the hell is going on in this world? That things that are just not favorable to the mainstream narrative are kept from us. Thank you for helping me with that. Thank you.
Well, we don't even have a browser we can use anymore. Like, what do we use? You used to use DuckDuckGo. They were supposed to not filter, but now they do. So it's like we have nothing. We have to just go through all these different blogs and stuff that are out of the U.S. and try to piece it together. It's hard.
Yeah, that's why our job takes all day to put this show together.
Yeah.
Because to pull and go through old, documents and have people sending you PDFs and sources material. And I mean, it's crazy. And even today, Senator Ron Johnson's office requested YouTube to and answers from the head of YouTube. Why are you censoring a sitting U.S. senator who's literally publishing and providing information from these drug manufacturers' very own reported documents? Why are you censoring them? And so Senator Ron Johnson's
very own
office,
documents, the very documents that if you yourself try to find, you cannot. You cannot find those documents.
And it's a sitting senator publishing this information, and Senator Ron Johnson's office is demanding answers. So again, it's unbelievable. Let us know your thoughts on this. We really appreciate it.
The chat room is saying Brave browser.
Brave. Okay. We'll
I'll
try
look
it,
into
I guess,
it.
until they go woke like DuckDuckGo did and start censoring Ukraine content.
I've tried.
You know what though? I do want to see what most people who are using Google browsers and Google search. I want to see what they are allowed to see.
Oh, it's Jordan Peterson's browser? Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Brave, is it his browser?
No,
Okay.
that's not his browser. It's been around a long time.
Oh, it is. Okay. Brave. All right,
He
we'll try
may
it.
use it, but
Opera, Opera. I used to use Opera a while ago. Yandex, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Thank you for that. We will move on to your super chats.
Yeah, we'll take your super chats, but I do want to say we have a daily newsletter. Please go and subscribe. It's totally free. All 21,000 of you watching right now, please go and subscribe. It's totally free, and it's not propaganda, but it's a nice little newsletter that you can read in about 5 to 10 minutes over your cup of coffee in the morning or over your lunch break, whatever. It'll be delivered to your inbox, your email inbox, and so we cover 5 or 6 stories. And if you just go to redacted.inc, not .com, .inc, and then enjoy it every morning. Okay, now it's time for your super chats. Onion browser.
all right. see here.
Onion browser is the dark web. That's the Tor.
Oh, Tor, yeah.
Okay, we have a lot of super chats today. So we got Met Cure, Brev5BV Gef Gaming, and Mario Menes with super stickers. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then David Melford Space. Thank you, Clayton.
Thank you.
Diana, I'm proud to be Russian. We are Russians. God with us. Love Putin.
Okay. Thank you.
Candy Mitch, why no post for this on locals? I'm not sure, Candy, what you're talking about.
I do. She was talking about the studio build out. Why didn't you put that on locals?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, I thought it went to locals. No, I posted it on our community on YouTube. Sorry.
All right, we'll put it there.
I can grab them. I'll grab them off and make a compilation and put it on locals.
Okay.
Poseidon's Kraken. You two need at least one positive. Oh, we already saw that one positive story. Sailing Prepper Dark Secrets. You should have a plaque for the new studio. Thanking all the producers.
Oh yeah. David and Philip
when do you
and
get the,
Kevin, you guys want to come put your hands in the wall and Grim?
Oh, heck yeah.
Like Grim's
I don't do anything.
Chinese studio.
I don't do anything. I just sit around and push buttons. Don't thank me.
That's a lot.
Did you apply for the plaque yet, Clayton?
We can't because we have community strikes. Can't do that. So.
Oh, jeez.
We're still in the
Alexander
corner.
Lidzen. Yeah. Already bought a petroleum heather for my parents.
Good for you.
Nikki D, new viewer from UK, loving your coverage. Stock up.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
John Tidor, which I think John said this a couple days ago or last week. In 5 years, a unified European army based out of Germany will amass on Russia's borders in Ukraine. When this happens, Russia will launch a preemptive nuclear strike on European cities, triggering a global nuclear war.
Oh, geez.
I don't see that, but
We have
Shadowless
spoken about
Kick
that
with
as a possibility. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Everything's a possibility right now. Carla Silla, I've always prepared, even before the pandemic, even with me losing my job for refusing to get the jab. Me and my husband and kids are doing okay.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm sorry to hear about losing your job. Goodness.
Yeah.
The pandemic's
StarCraft
over.
2K?
You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be losing your job.
Yeah,
Joe
really.
Biden said it's over now, so someone owes you an apology.
StarCraft 2K, CNN equals Cartoon News Network.
Yeah.
Steve, America needs to fight with a country that can actually fight back for once to wake up the people. Yeah, it's kind of like the bully that's always out on the playground. And then the one comes along that punches them in the nose, and then they stop being a bully.
Yeah, yeah. Terry Beaton in our chat says, give me a little wink. Here you go, Terry.
I'll give you one too, Terry. There you go. Starchild. Let's ask the American voter via a referendum to see if we want to keep escalating to get rid of the psychotic dictatorship here at home.
That's very specific vote. Okay.
Napweed, the world is fed up with the U.S. playing Let's You and Him Fight. I believe the next major conflict will also hit the mainland U.S.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Well, just like Natalie was saying, it could be cyber. Like, it doesn't have to be in the form of weapons.
Right. Maybe that's why.
Natalie.
Maybe that's why Putin gave Edward Snowden citizenship today.
Oh, he did?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
So now he's a Russian citizen. Imagine that.
Does that make him free to?
Well, he's been free. I mean, he's lived
now
in
he's
Russia.
really an enemy of the state.
I was gonna say, talk about being an enemy of the state before. Like you show America's secrets that they're spying on Americans, and unbelievable.
That's interesting.
Is his name going to be Edward Snowdenoff or something like that now? So. Natalie Chavez, with Trump, we probably would have had civil war. With Biden, new Cold War. Which is worse?
Right. Yeah, I saw that comment
BJD.
and I gave it some thought and I can't decide.
By the way, on the John Teeter stuff, I recently read a book on John Teeter. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I know what you're saying.
BJD 940 with a super sticker. Thank you.
I recently read a book on his time traveling. Yes.
I'm getting ready to. Are you talking about in 5 years, months leading up to the unified European army moving on Russia's borders? China will forcibly annex Taiwan, Japan, and all of Korea. There is still time to prepare your homes, communities, and families. From John Teeter.
Yeah.
Roman Endgame landlocked Ukraine. Neo Chaps, the Great Reset isn't just economic. It also involves resetting the global population. Too many mouths to feed.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Kajar with a super sticker. Thank you. Dr. Ron Paul. Woe to the crypto bros and dollar doubters. King dollar continues to crush all global currencies. The fiat debt trap cannot be escaped and will lead to currency war, debt jubilee, and currency reset.
Yeah, the U.S. dollar is doing okay right now, but is that sustainable?
Well, in relation to other hurting currencies.
Right, in relation to the euro.
It doesn't really help anybody who lives on the U.S. dollar unless they're investing in global currencies.
Right.
Alexander Linson, we are allowed to shower 5 minutes, so I'd rather take a hot bath.
Okay.
Peter Kidd says, keep us posted, please. I don't know if you guys know what that's in reference to.
Always. I mean, on all of our stories, we try to stay up on every little nuance of it. So, yes, we will.
Taro Man Harris, look into her ties with U.S. think tank, the Aspen Institute controlled opposition. Possibly Elizabeth Warren, is that, or maybe the first story, the lady.
Or maybe Georgia Maloney.
Prime Minister.
Maloney, yeah.
Yeah. Dan Imal, unrelated media blackout on Fukushima water and radioactive tuna from South Pacific IEF Fiji, where USA gets its tuna. We all have kids. It's bad.
Jeez.
Okay. Oh.
Fukushima.
The Iranian Putin, buy the dip.
Okay. You guys watched that Murders in the Building where he keeps going, dips for dinner. Dips for dinner, you guys.
Raul Glasgow, Philip will fix Trinidad. Philip will fix it.
Philip, okay.
I'm on it.
Put that on your to-do list, please.
Go fix Trinidad.
Yeah, just adding it to my list.
TPS, the giver is a warning, not utopia. Not understanding the world and lessons of the great stories, in fact, shows that a person is unfit.
The giver?
The giver, the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victor Germain, a proud member of the fringe minority with unacceptable views from Alberta, Canada. Can I get a shout out? It's my birthday today. Love you guys. Happy birthday, Victor.
Happy birthday. Welcome to the Redacted Rebel Army here.
Happy birthday to you.
Are you a rebel? You're part of the Redacted
Welcome,
Rebels.
Happy
Nancy
Libra
G.
season.
Nancy G. Hababa Boombu Banawa. Joe Biden. That's a quote.
Baba Booey. Baba Booey.
9 of 9. You got a purty mouth.
Yes. Let us know in the chat if you're a redacted rebel. Just type the word rebel. Let them know.
Bill Moylan, Vatican recently centralized accounts, new Italian government, Orban Poland plus cause EU split, group financed and led from Vatican, and new German political direction. Food for thought.
That is a lot. Okay.
Rebels. Look at our rebels.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's it.
Ooh, $50 super sticker. Thank you.
Welcome to the rebellion.
Cookie Monster, EU politicians need to wake up and smell the coffee.
I love coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Met Kjar and CJ Ping, both with super stickers. Thank you.
Thank you.
People want to know when do we stream live? Every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. GMT, right? Or London time.
Yeah,
Yes.
Western European
Western
time. You're
European
here.
time.
We're live right now.
We are live right now. We are live right now.
Geocon, please look into ISO 222. A FedNow New World Digital Currency. The Morgan Reports episode number 24 covers this in depth, including the BRICS nation. I would love to hear your take on this. Talk to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've done a whole video. I've done a couple of videos on the BRICS. If you can seek them out here on the channel, just go into our videos on Redacted News and check them out. I've done a deep dive specifically on, on BRICS nations. Oh, it's escaping me off the top of my head. But yes, please look at those. I've done a couple of recently on BRICS nations, so focus on that.
Did anything happen on 24 that was supposed to happen on 24? Like,
I didn't notice anything.
You know how that
so
was?
no.
I didn't either. No. I ate a pretty decent sandwich. I was surprised that the place didn't look like it was going to have good sandwiches, and it did. So that was a good thing. Jesse Black, anyone that doesn't fall in line with the Committee of 300 Great Reset agenda gets canceled, aka threatened with war, raided by FBI, sanctioned, etc. This is how to tell who is resisting and who isn't.
Yeah. Feels like that.
Hans Storibo, if I have to choose between the new medicine or death, I choose death. Quote unquote, the new medicine.
Okay.
Ricky, we shouldn't be worried about COVID on cash anyway, as most of us have had COVID, so our bodies are locked and loaded. Thanks, everything you guys do.
Thank you.
And let me refresh really quick, make sure that's all of them. We have, Reza, appreciate the well-produced commentary. Very informative. Thank you, Natalie, Clayton, and David. Candy Mitch, no, they're normally a post directing to the live. YouTube has been in a wikia. So they must not be getting notified. We have Richie Rich, and Justina Williams and Amira Rana with super stickers. And again, the $50. Thank you. David Melford Space is redacted on Telegram.
Yes, we are on Telegram. You can find our Telegram channel on, I forget the name of it.
Telegram.
Yes, it's on Telegram.
You can find it on Telegram.
It is there. If I could find it. What is our screen name? It just should be. Oh, it's Real Redacted on Telegram. Real Redacted on Telegram.
And then we got Tommy Felix, Edward Stroganoff.
For Edward Snowden's Russian name.
One. Yeah. Alex Nozel, once Russia conquers the Ukraine, do you think that the U.S. will force Poland to pick up the fight where the Hydra left off?
Careful.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That's it. Those are all the super chats.
JC Neal says, sharing your show in Portland, Oregon, not easy, but truth winning. Rebels together, awakening the woke. That's right. Thank you, JC. Nell.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Fellow Portlander, huh?
Yeah.
And then this one just came in too. We missed. Michael Saylor says Bitcoin is good for the environment. Read his article about it. Okay, I will. And also seek out our report on how traditional banks are actually harder on the environment than cryptocurrency, but the government still takes its shots. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. We will see you here tomorrow, same time, same place. Remember to subscribe to the newsletter and buy your extra bags of rice and beans.
That's right. And subscribe to our channel here. Please, thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button. Very, very easy to do. We'll see you back here tomorrow, everybody, 4 p.m. Eastern. Bye now.